Chris Lotz with the Pat Lotz Real Estate Group, and today I am with
Pat Lotz from the Pat Lotz Real Estate Group and Real Estate One.
Mom and son duo. We have a few members of the team. First ever podcast. What are your thoughts?
I'm really excited.
Good, me too. So learning as we go, figuring out what works, what doesn't work. I don't know where this is going to be posted, but any feedback into kind of figuring out what you'd like to know to help better get the home of your dreams. So this is kind of for buyers. It's also for buyers agents to figure out how to structure offers and get winning deals.
Yeah, for sure.
So recent house, recent listing, recently under contract. Where is it? What is it?
Great house in our community. Very desirable. A high-end home.
High-end home. How many offers did you get on the house?
We ended up getting 7 offers.
7 offers.
Yeah.
Quite a few showings. How many showings?
30 plus showings, 32, something like that.
And how many days, technically on market before a pending transaction?
Well, maybe about 4, but it was during the winter wonderland. So
yeah, so still, but still 4, and a luxury listing. We probably could have sold it in day one. I think you got offer day one.
Could have sold it day one, but
waiting for the right opportunity. And that's the reason of pointing that out is things are still right product, right price. Things move fast.
Very true, even in our winter months.
Yeah. So those 7 offers. I don't know if we need to give a brief overview on all 7, but what did some of those offers look like?
Yeah, I think that I usually look through them all and of course go over them all with the seller, but we'll go with the top 3. So the first one wasn't the winner, but it was a cash offer. I mean, it was a great offer. It was over list price. However, if they took the cash offer, they're just leaving money on the table. So cash is still not king.
No inspection too, right?
No, I'm not sure if that
I thought it was just over. Well, there was one just over cash, no inspection, but it was also contingent on the sale of their home.
That was not in my top 3.
That was not your top 3, but it was an offer.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe it's even good to kind of point that out is, one, cash is not king. They were over. It did have no inspection, which kind of makes, I don't know your point of view on it, but as a predominantly buyer's agent, I get a little nervous because what if there are issues that we don't see on the surface? So it gets a little nervous.
I do have to make a point on that one. As a seller's agent, I want inspection. I don't want anybody to go into this blind. We typically don't have anything to hide. And you know me, my added value is we do a pre-inspection. So I like to know the DNA of each house. So it helps sellers and myself to make sure that the house is ready to go. That's
kind of a good talking point is, I think that whoever's watching this, if you're interviewing agents, no agents, that's a great question to ask is, in this competitive market, it might not be that hard to sell houses, but it's what your agent is bringing to the table to get the deal done or to make the transaction as smooth as possible. So our added values are pre-inspections.
Pre-inspections, it's one of our added values, and I think it's really been beneficial for all parties.
Any other added values and positives working with the Pat Lotz team?
Oh, well, of course. We also add a home warranty, which again is just a little bit of an icing on the cake. Makes everybody feel at peace when we're working on a home. Of course, our marketing. Extensive marketing, a lot of digital marketing, professional photography, drones, all the things that are really necessary even in the seller's market.
Well, even to that point too, as we're walking through homes on the buy side, it's trying to mitigate buyers' objections. So, sellers being proactive with having pre-inspections and showing that stuff, and then having a home warranty to protect us. It's just peace of mind, and it's definitely mitigating some of those objections on either side, whether it's sell or buy. So you have the facts and there's no confusion on that. So back to those offers. It was cash, it was over, it was no inspection, but it was contingent. So it was a great cash offer. They were trying to buy that contingency by being over and maybe not having an inspection, but as a listing agent, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, not as strong as of course the next offer was quite good. They came in over list price. They came in, I think they were still 20% down. They did offer occupancy to the sellers, but they wanted the seller to pay for it. So principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So that's not always something sellers like to do. It's in negotiating, give your seller free rent for 36
Was that your top three? Was that one of your top threes?
One of my top threes. And they did waive the appraisal.
Okay.
So that's really cool. Of course, standard inspections and all that other good stuff. So nothing there. They did come back once I put the deadline of highest and best. They came back and they increased their sales price offer. And they did put in an escalation clause. I'm not a fan of escalation clauses.
Yeah, so and that's a great place to stop, because maybe not every single person that hears this or will hear this understands an escalation clause sometimes if they're not in the market. So some of the things that we recently just put a video or post out about some of the things to include in a purchase agreement to be able to get successful acceptance.
Right.
Appraisal guarantees, covering that potential in the gap of appraisal, which people are going above and beyond, so you need to do that. They're a little weird, but at the end of the day, to get the deal done, you need to have them. So escalation clause. Can you give an example of an escalation clause?
Sure. An escalation clause is say, hey, look, I'm going to offer you $500,000. However, if another offer comes in higher, I am willing to offer you $2,000 over that offer, but not to exceed the next amount.
Yeah.
So basically, it's saying
we'll go on a very, very basic example. So our offer is $100,000.
Yeah.
And for any proven bona fide offer, we will go $2,000 over that offer, not to exceed $120,000, $115,000.
Yep.
Something like that.
Good example.
And there's no right or wrong answer. There's no parameters. Some people do 1,000 over, some people 2,000 over, and we even saw did we see a 5,000 over?
Yeah.
I think somebody did a 5,000 over on this deal. So I guess it comes down to how bad they want it and what they're willing to go up to.
Yeah, and escalation clauses when you highest and best. I mean, my suggestion to all buyers is you just gotta say, what do you want it for? And I just think it shows that you want it, you're putting your best foot forward, and you're not sort of playing that game.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day too, it's, what's that threshold? I think that the threshold about $10,000, the difference between winning and losing in this market, if you're going to stay in that house for 5+ years, $10,000 all day long.
Right.
So, and that's where maybe the $2,000, the $1,000, you don't want to leave money on the table. But again, the big picture, if it's $5,000 to win or lose a deal, I'm choosing to win every single day of the week.
And then too, remember, low interest rates, in a 30-year mortgage, it's pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. So good examples of escalation clause. We don't always like them though. They're good to, and it's not that we don't like them. It's that it's tough to diagnose. We'd rather not to see that, and we'd rather just kind of put your best foot forward. Which at the tail end of the deal, a lot of people started to lose those and just said, "Hey, this is what we're willing to put on it."
Right.
So,
right.
So back to the offers. Were you on 2?
I was done with 2.
You were done with 2.
Yeah.
So the winning offer.
Winner was a lot of it too. Just back, presentation is critical. When I get an offer,
we're gonna talk about that at the end. Let's talk about the structure, or at least how we present.
Got it.
Because out of the 7 offers, there's good, bad, and the ugly, and how they are presented. Did a lender call us? Is it a PDF? Is it Remind Pro Plus? I don't know what the name of it is actually. What's the name of it?
Docs Plus.
Docs Plus.
Yes.
We like to present, and we'll talk about that after.
Okay. Good.
So the winning offer was over.
It was substantially over. Well, substantially, 15,000 over.
time out real quick.
Right.
I think this might be a good opportunity to talk about what your sellers were looking for in terms of an offer. So we listed it, but they may have had not an expectation, but a hopeful desire of where it would land for list price.
Sure.
Or offer price.
Sure. So when I go in and I'm doing my market analysis, I'm going in, pulling the data of comparables and looking at that and trying to stay in line with that. I don't want to overshoot it because number one, remember, it has to appraise by an appraiser, but also if we go too high, we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot. So I price it on a fine line, and I figured the market is going to drive it up. So that's sort of our strategy, and we knew we listed it at a great appraised market value
Compared on comps.
On comps, yeah. And we all chatted. We knew it was going to be driven up anywhere from 10 to 25,000.
Yeah, and that's exactly what your sellers were hoping for.
That's correct. Those were their expectations.
They also were hoping for free rent.
Free rent.
60 days.
60 days.
They were also hoping for, with that not escalation, but that increase in offer price, they were hoping for an appraisal guarantee.
That is correct.
Or waiver or cash.
Yep.
Anything else that they were thinking about? Because I know that they're moving into a new they're moving into a new situation.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any things that they needed to have in that offer to make it a done deal?
Well, exactly what you just said. They got the price that their expectations. They got an appraisal guarantee, so they were willing to pick up any gap if it didn't appraise for the sales price. Mm-hmm. They got their 60 days free of occupancy, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. And really, the other thing is the inspection. We all get an inspection, but it was really just for informational purposes only, just to be more informed about the dynamics DNA of the house.
Well, that's a good point. Or another great tangent is, when we're submitting offers on the buy side, we're not waiving inspection, but we can mitigate the seller's concerns with inspection. And again, that's going back to mitigating concerns, seller or buy side. The seller side, they're worried about appraisals, so appraisal guarantees, mm-hmm. and they're worried about getting through an inspection. Yep. So saying, hey, informational purposes only. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the verbiage we like to use is the focus is on health and safety, mm-hmm. meaning if we see mold, if we see radon, if there's contaminated water, we can address those things, and those things aren't breaking the bank. Radon's costing $800. Mm-hmm. Arsenic or dirty water might cost maybe a few hundred to $1,000. Yep. And then what was the last thing? Mold's going to be maybe a little bit more of a variable of what it is, where it is, and what's the correction matter of mm-hmm. solving that underlining issue, whether it's flashing on the roof or moisture or whatever. That might be $1,500 to $3,500, but we can address those if we see those.
Yes, and I like to say we're looking for elephants, not ants. Mm-hmm. So
that means
look for the big stuff.
Big stuff.
The big stuff, the financially burdensome that you didn't anticipate. And again, sellers might not be aware of it. So that is why, that's why we do a pre-inspection, because mm-hmm. I like to know what those elephants are prior to listing. So. Yeah, and I want to drive that one home too. And, I think this is probably, I don't know if we're putting out tips, but pre-inspections are massive, mm-hmm. because if you get in front of the mold, if you get in front of these elephants, then you're just proactive. Yep. If we find these scary things, then one, we solve that problem sooner, and we might not have to address it in the long run. And in the long run, the right thing to do, right and wrong, hot market, slow market, the right thing to do is probably just address those things. Sure.
And I think that's probably a staple of Pat Lotz is do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing. I got to sleep at night, right?
Yep.
Were we done with the third offer? It was over. It had the occupancy they wanted. Mm-hmm. It did have a form of an escalation clause, but at that point in time, they waived that, or they were already substantially above.
Yeah.
There was an issue, though, with an appraisal guarantee. They didn't include one.
That's correct.
So how did you approach that with the buyer's agent, the sellers, and then to the buyer's agent? What did they want to do ultimately?
Well, you present the offers, and then we sat down and we looked at all of the offers and picked, the top a couple. And basically the seller said, look, we're really excited about this offer. Can you go back to them and counter the offer and ask for an appraisal guarantee? And I said, we sure can. So I reached out. Everything else was perfect. And whether or not they forgot the strategy of appraisal guarantee or not, I don't know what they were thinking. But they came back and gave us a full appraisal guarantee. So with that being said, we stuck with that one.
Cool. And that's one thing that, at least from the buy side, I appreciate the conversation. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? When you get 30 offers, sometimes you get offers that are black and white. You see the clear winner. They've included that full package and there's no questions, but I at least appreciate that conversation, because what if they just didn't include that and you were a listing agent that said, hey, on to the next, no big deal. Mm-hmm. But there was still money on the table, and maybe that's the benefit of advocating for your sellers to, one, get the best deal, and to protect the transaction.
Well, and another tidbit too, in the whole big picture of choosing the right offer, is we had a local agent, which is great, and we had a local lender. Mm-hmm. Critical to, the final success.
Yeah.
So
why is that important to you?
It's important. Relationships are important. I think it's a relationship-driven business right now, and it's knowing who the players are. So knowing who the players are, in the real estate transaction, we know that we'll get to the end and it'll be successful. Yeah. So we know how they operate, how they move, how they communicate, how they do their job.
Trust at that point in time. It's not that, other agents aren't trustworthy or they're not honest. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, when you've seen that other person, or that person's been in the community for 10 plus years, 5 plus years, whatever that number is, you at least know that they have some type of standard of, good integrity and good business practice.
Well, and how they direct and orchestrate the transaction in their buyer, so that they lead them and they're trusted by their buyers.
Yeah. So a little bit of a recap. Nice luxury listing in the community. Mm-hmm. A lot of showings, 30 showings, 7 offers, a lot of great offers. Every single offer was great.
Absolutely.
But different. And then obviously we had a standout winner. It fit the needs of the price. It fit the needs of the occupancy. And then eventually it fit the needs of the appraisal guarantee. So it was a full encompassing packet. And then the other thing that we were going to go off on is presentation of those purchase agreements. 1 second. On the buy side, my perspective, obviously we're going to hear what a listing agent kind of sees, but from a buy side, I think it's imperative to be proactive with rapport or a conversation or introduction with that listing agent.
Correct.
To stand out differently, say, hey, we're sending over an offer. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes they miss those offers. Like, who's Chris Lotz? Mm-hmm. But when you call them and say, hey, Chris Lotz, we're going to send over an offer, and then you follow up with a text when you send the offer. Maybe you have the lender have that phone call. So just being proactive on all fronts. So when that listing agent receives those, there's no questions.
Right.
So when you're looking through these, what do you like to see? What don't you like to see? Ideally, what's the perfect way to present an offer?
Okay, like that. I like a text, which is really nice, because when we do have a popular listing, my phone does blow up, and it's good. I mean, that's all the nature of the beast. But a text, and even a call, I like to have that conversation that, hey, questions, we're going to be submitting an offer. I say, great, get it over, I'll confirm it. What I like to see in a offer presentation is I like to see one PDF. So sometimes they come over in different ways. How do they come over? 10 PDFs. And also with our
Docs Plus.
Our Docs Plus. Yeah. So it's still,
You're clicking. Docs Plus. It still consolidates all the different links, but you click in, you click out, you click in, you click out, you click in, you click out. Where if it's one PDF, and that's how we structure those things, is one PDF. First page is either the MLS ticket or the pre-qualification or pre-approval. Mm-hmm. So 1 and 2 simultaneously. Page 3 is our first pages of our purchase agreement. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the meat and the potatoes of everything we're looking at. Addendums for the appraisal guarantees, our escalation clause, and everything else is just clerical legal. Mm-hmm. And that's how we present those things. So that's how you prefer to receive those things.
Well, sure. And then it's organized, it's efficient. I don't have to go through a bunch of different PDFs and print them. Also is beneficial. I really like when the lender calls me directly. That helps. It's one less step I have to take to check all the offers. I've got 7 offers. I'm calling 7 lenders. Also, I like to see verification of funds. So what that means is that if you're giving me a $20,000 appraisal guarantee, I like to see you've got those funds in the bank, or your lender can share that with me.
Yeah.
The lender says, yep, they're highly qualified. They've got 20% down, and they have the extra cash if they need that. So that's really important.
So it's a question in the back of your head, and somebody actually answers that question before you have to ask that question, whether it be proof of funds, qualifications to close, and the lender's going to have all those answers.
Yep.
Especially if you get a low down. I know not in this situation, but if you get a low down payment and then they do a big appraisal guarantee, you're like, well, do you have that money?
Yeah.
But it's just being proactive and answering those questions that are going to come up.
Well, we all know they're going to come up. If you're selling a house, you know what you have to do to be able to do your due diligence and check out each offer, and all the different aspects of the purchase agreement. And lender qualifications, communication is really important. And I like a nice response. So, if I'm calling on the weekend and I can't get a hold of the lender, that is not good.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe that's a good point. Like, we got local lenders, you got local names you trust, and when it's not a local lender, or if it's a bigger bank, I think that's where it's more imperative that they are proactive to get those deals done. Because sometimes when you see a mega bank, you're like, I might get lost in translation. When you see a local lender, they might answer a text message on an evening or a weekday or weekend to be able to get those questions answered, because they are part of the team. They're a huge part of the team.
Yeah.
Real estate agent, your clients, and then your lenders. Without your lenders, you're not getting deals done. So
one other thing about that is, buyer's agents and buyers call your lender. Say we submitted an offer. Can you call the listing agent?
Yeah.
Boom, done.
Communication is key. I think that's like the place to end on that one is communication is key. So if I'm not communicating with the listing agent, if I'm not communicating with the lender, if the clients aren't communicating with the lender, you're not as efficient as possible, and some things get lost in translation. You lose out on opportunities, and it happens. But mitigating those mistakes are how you're going to get your offers accepted as quickly as possible.
Yeah. In
this competitive market.
Yeah.
So we talked about the deal. We went through some of the deals. We did do some tangents on escalation clauses, appraisal guarantees. Structurally, how we like to see those offers. Anything else?
No. And advice, buyer's agent, be organized. Do one PDF.
Yeah. And it's
important.
To your point, it's not even. Some might perceive that as a listing agent being high maintenance, but when you hit PDF print versus click, print. It just makes your life so much easier. And if you're presenting offers with that convenience, then how's the rest of the transaction going to be?
Bingo.
Seamless.
Yeah.
So I think it's setting the precedent of how the transaction is going to take place.
Yep.
So
great deal.
Cool. Well, episode 1, deep dive 1.
We'll see
more to
how
come.
It plays out. Yes, this is so fun.
So, Chris Lotz with the Pat Lotz Real Estate Group.
Pat Lotz with the Pat Lotz Real Estate Group and Real Estate One. There is
lots to love in Livingston County.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to use those like, comment, and share buttons below. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Pat Lotz Real Estate for more helpful home buying and selling tips. Want a free comparable market analysis? Scan that QR code on your screen or visit our website at www.patlotz.com and fill out the request form. There's lots to love in Livingston County.